Hello and welcome to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast. We're back. I am your host, Ryan Gilbert. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Joe DeMarini, back from Portugal. How we doing, Joe?
Woo.
Welcome back.
Just dandy, just great. I'm hoping the jet lag doesn't kick in the middle of this podcast. I went to bed at like 8 p.m. last night and then woke up at 6 a.m. today. So hopefully I've gotten past the worst of it, but you never know, right?
Yeah, that's some normalish sleep. That's what? It's a 5-hour difference in Portugal?
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
Yeah, that's what I was in England back in November, December. Flyers went 2-0 when I was out of the country. Joe's out of the country. Flyers big win on Saturday. That's all it takes is one of us being out of the country. Flyers would go undefeated and win the Stanley Cup. It would be best season in history. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go on a holiday for spring break in April, and then that's right when the playoffs start. They'll win a round. I'll come back and they'll immediately get swept.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Perfect there. And before we get started here, make sure you check out Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, Bet Online continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here. Before we get fully into today's show, we last recorded before the Capitals game, which, of course, I have a special treat here for Joe, as well as the YouTube viewers. It was Margaritaville night. So here is a look at the shirt. The Flyers Margaritaville shirt was available for purchase or via the ticket. It's like a nice material too. It's not like one of the like skinny ones. It's got the Margaritaville tag on it and everything. I had not noticed that until now. So we got the hat back here. I'm ready for Cinco de Mayo and all summer long rock it out to Jimmy Buffett.
I am so envious of the shirts specifically. I love that shirt. I have a Bacardi tropical shirt that is one of my prized possessions that was given to me by some bartenders. I was like, hey, do you have any extras of those? Because it was like a Bacardi event night. And they're like, yeah, here you go. So that's how I ended up with it.
Nice. I got a stadium giveaway Hawaiian shirt from the Orioles a few years ago, and it was just like this thin material. So that's what I was expecting these to be, but no, these are pretty legit. So looking forward to rocking that in the summer, in the spring, maybe for the playoffs, maybe not this year, but in the coming years. We got that going on.
That's that new era of orange difference in material what do you call them? Freebies, the giveaway freebies.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever. I also got the gritty nightlight here. That's fantastic in the box still. That was from Saturday's game. That's amazing. Man. So good. Chuck Fletcher could never do any of these giveaways. Chuck Fletcher could
actually. If you give me 1 second, I got something. I have to get up and get it. This is a little unprecedented. It was a Christmas gift that I finally set up. Hold on 1 second. This is probably great for our audio viewers. Just vamp for like 10 seconds.
I'll do some plugs here. We're pushing out the YouTube pretty hard right now. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers so we can do super chats and all that fun stuff. We're at 495 right now. We started the day like 460. Thomas tweeted it out earlier today. So make sure you get in the Broad Street Hockey YouTube, subscribe, like, and comment there. Of course, the Discord's still going on. Follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, and the website, broadstreethockey.com. And Joe is back with some sort of craft here. Oh, that's like a Flyers custom neon. Is that neon?
It is neon. It's not plugged in, so I can't turn it on. But yeah, it's just a bright orange Flyers custom neon thing. I think he found it in some thrift store, and he's like, "Oh, I got to get that for Joe." So shout out to my buddy. Yeah, nice. Shout out to my buddy Sean for picking this up at a thrift store for me for Christmas.
I thought someone like made that for you because I've seen recently the people doing like twisting or whatever their own LED lights and shit or neon lights. But yeah, that's really cool there for your nice Flyers thing there.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, good stuff there.
I forgot to add. I've also got a puzzle. He gave me a Flyers puzzle as well, but I've got so many puzzles going right now. I'll have to put that one on the back burner.
The Flyers themselves are a puzzle. Am I right, Joe? So
puzzling. Oh, boom.
Yeah, before we get into the Flyers talk, though, I mean, this is our first podcast since Four Nations. So,
Yeah.
face off, of course. We're going to talk about the on ice product and maybe some of the off ice stuff. We'll leave that to some other shows. But, yeah, great product on the ice. We weren't really sure how seriously players would take it. Alex Pietrangelo dropped out before it even started, even though he was still playing in the NHL. But yeah, hell of a tournament there. I'm not sure how much you got to watch, if any, since it was all on at midnight, 1 a.m. over there. But I mean, USA Canada was great round robin, fantastic gold medal game there. Sweden, put a scare into. They beat the USA. I mean, the USA didn't really have anything to play for, but
Well, who beat the USA? Who beat the USA?
Sammy Sweetheart. Sammy Sweetheart was Harrison was in net. We know what he can do to make sure a team doesn't tank. So he played well. Travis fortunately scratched for both games against the US, which interesting choice, but that allowed us to have one of the best moments of the tournament with him getting a piggyback ride from Brad Marchand to get his medal there. So I'm hoping one of those guys was mic'd up for this like unveiled Four Nations thing that the NHL is doing, because that would be great to hear there. But yeah, I mean, this was not an all-star game whatsoever. Players were going hard at it. Charlie McAvoy got an infection in his shoulder. He might be done for the year. Matthew Tkachuk, there's conflicting if he's done for the year. Shea Theodore's out. Like, this guys are beat up. They were treating this like a game 7, and then less than 36 hours later, we were right back to regular season hockey.
Yeah. I didn't watch any full games. I got like the highlights the next morning that filtered through onto like Instagram or Twitter or Blue Sky. The one thing that sticks out in my head was the first Canada power play in that game against. What was their first game? Was it against Sweden?
I think it was Finland, maybe.
Finland.
It was one of those games, yeah.
It was like McDavid to Crosby to McKinnon for the finish, and I just watched that and I was like, who is stopping this? Like, this is insane. Like, there's no way they can lose when you've got that kind of power play. Yeah, that was crazy. And then the McDavid game winner in overtime. Jordan Binnington, man, who knew? You put him in the TD Garden in a game 7 and anything can happen.
Well, yeah, you had Jordan Binnington in TD Garden in a game 7, which elevates his performance, against Austin Matthews in a game 7 in TD Garden, where he just disappears completely. He had so many great chances there right before McDavid won it. But yeah, Binnington, no one was confident in him whatsoever going into the tournament, even more so going into the championship game. But yeah, credit to him. He comes up in big spots.
Yeah, maybe the Blues will be looking to trade him now, because like he's got 2 years left at $6-ish million, I think, and the value's never been higher. I think he has a no move clause, but you never know. Blues are in an interesting state.
They really are. Blues are, I mean, they got to stay on the cup, so that you can't really feel too bad for them. But they're in a spot where they don't have too much great young talent. Robert Thomas is good. Jordan Kyrou, I think, is like 27, 28. But like, yeah, they're definitely in a transition period.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a young goalie in Joel Hofer who probably is going to be pretty good, but he's not, there yet. Jordan Kyrou, 26, Robert Thomas, 25, yeah. They've got like Jake Neighbors and Zach Bolduc that could be something. Oh, and then Dylan Holloway and Philip not Forsberg, Broberg. Yeah. Oh boy, can you imagine? Yeah. But at the same time, they have a 40-year-old Ryan Suter. So,
Yeah. So Four Nations was good, almost a full 2 weeks off. And like, yeah, it wasn't just a long weekend for the All-Star break. You had these teams had a chance to reset. Matvei Michkov, in particular, had a chance to go down to Dubai or wherever he was, posting pictures on his Instagram, having a great time, coming back. Dominant 3-point game against the Oilers. Thomas had a great video on the BSH Hockey YouTube. Check that out, breaking down all 3 of his points. I mean, he's back, and we thought he definitely needed this break, and he got the break, and he came out of it. First goal of the game, amazing assist to Couturier, and then another assist on the almost a 2-on-0 there with Tippett.
So I'm gonna tell you a little story here. Going into the break, my dad and I were talking about Matvei Michkov and how good he was against the Capitals in that game, right? Like, he just showed up. And my dad was like, he ain't tired. He's just quit playing for Torts. And I'm like, that's a hot take, man. I'm like, we'll see how he looks after the break. And he came out flying. And my dad's still like, man, I don't know, man. He might be he might not just be happy to be playing for Torts. It could be true, but it doesn't seem that way. It doesn't look like it. The way he was playing, he looked gassed. So it's good to see him back. I think he's going to finish strong. I don't think it's Torts related. There you go.
Yeah, no, it seems like he steps up in big spots too, like against the Capitals, against Ovechkin there, obviously. Against the Oilers, I forgot his first 2 goals of his career were a 2-goal game there in Edmonton back in October. He had a 2-point game at Washington back in October as well. Played well against the Penguins in the game before the break. We got 2 games against the Penguins coming up. So, yeah, look for big things from Michkov the rest of the way. Like, I know we had kind of tempered expectations, as they still should be, but I went over it on post game on Saturday. Like, his first 27 games, he had 27 points, and now he has 3 points in his start of his final 25 games. So he could easily get back up to 25 points in 25 games to end the season, and that would be fantastic season for Michkov.
Do you think he puts himself back in the Calder conversation, or is he like too far behind it after that down stretch?
It's interesting because the betting odds have like Celebrini as a huge favorite and Hudson behind him, and then Wolf even ahead of Michkov. But like, if he gets on one of these streaks like he had early in the year, like he had there in mid-December with like 4 straight multi-point games. Celebrini had another goal last night, so Celebrini took back the lead for goals. But if Michkov ends up having the most points, having the most goals for the rookies, and the Sharks fall off a little bit, which, I mean, they're the Sharks, like, yeah, especially if the Flyers somehow get back in the playoff conversation, if they're healthy, they might be able to. So I thought it was dead in the water before, but it looks like there might be a chance now. Depends how these next few weeks go, because the Flyers do have a pretty tough schedule after this back-to-back.
I mean, the good news is that it looks like Michkov really steps up when the competition is there. Like, he goes up against McDavid, 3-point night. He goes up against Ovechkin, shows the hell up. Like, if there's a star on the other team, he looks like the kind of guy who's like, nah, it's me. And sets the tone. So that's fun.
Yeah, and we finally got, once again, Michkov playing with Sean Couturier, which I've been asking for all season long with Tippett on that wing. We saw that with Morgan Frost, who, is faster than, maybe has more skill with his hands than Sean Couturier, but definitely not a more polished hockey player. So we saw that is a line there. And, I mean, that looks like that should stay together.
Hey, I'm stoked about that line. I know why they didn't do it earlier in the season. They didn't want Michkov getting the matchup minutes that Couturier was going to have to shoulder. But Noah Cates, for some reason, just has Connor McDavid's number. I don't know what. Like, he's done this before. Like, he didn't do it at the beginning of this season because I think he was... Oh, no, it was last season he was injured. But
it was a healthy scratch probably for that game.
He was the healthy scratch because Jet Luchenko would have been in. That's right. But 2 years ago, he did the same thing to McDavid. He just shut him down. So if Cates can continue to do that against other teams, it frees up Sean Couturier to play with Tippett and Michkov and not have to focus on those shutdown minutes, which that generates a lot of offense when you got Tippett and Michkov there. What else? I also have to give Coots props because that play in the neutral zone that set up one of those goals by that line, unbelievable. Strips the puck and then like backhand passes it up to, I think it was Michkov who then fed it to Tippett for a goal. Like, what a play in the neutral zone. Morgan Frost could never,
No, definitely. And also credit to Tippett on that goal, because like he used his speed, because Michkov and Tippett were right next to each other, and it looked like they were too close. They were gonna have to get like a weird shot off, but Tippett got to the other side, was able to get on the forehand to finish it rather than, trying to risk a backhand there, which, I mean, he had a beautiful backhand goal earlier in the game using his speed after making a great defensive play. So
he only scores highlight reel goals. I don't understand it. Owen Tippett is either not scoring or he's putting together the best highlight reel of any Flyer ever. And his backhand is actually like a legit weapon at this point. Like, I don't know if goaltenders are just... I think Bush said on the broadcast, he's like, goalies never expect you to shoot it off the backhand because it's really...
Who does that? Who does that?
Sidney Crosby's like the only guy who can do it consistently.
Yeah.
So if that's just something he does, because he does that on the breakaways. He
Mhm.
peeps his backhand and then roofs it, and it's almost becoming his little signature move at this point, which dope, cool thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if goalies even in that split second they see, okay, it's Tippett coming down. The book on him is he goes backhand. Like I don't know if they have enough to think that to also figure out if they're going to challenge him or not. But if they do, he just fakes backhand, goes forehand at some point, and like that could definitely work for him. So yeah, he either scores a highlight reel goal or misses the net by 5 feet, and we're like, what the fuck are you doing? So
or it
yeah.
goes off his foot. He was so close. He was so close to the Hattie.
Yeah,
Poor
but
Tippy.
yeah, I mean, great atmosphere in the building there. Saturday afternoon, gritty nightlight, kids in the building, a sellout for the first time since I don't know when. Maybe the home opener. I don't know if there's been a sellout. Maybe Black Friday was probably a sellout with the Rangers fans coming down. I don't know, but I was shocked when they started playing sellout, and I was like, oh wow, that's definitely packed though. Definitely good atmosphere, which is what you want to see. You want to have fun hockey. We've talked about it. You don't want to be the Buffaloes or the Chicagos where players are miserable, fans are miserable. Like you want to see good hockey. You want to see these young players playing well. And you brought up Noah Cates. I was very happy to see that line back together. They broke it up for a bit because you don't know who's battling injuries. You don't know who's beat up a little bit. But after 2 weeks off, back together, those guys know what to do, get in on the forecheck, and they do it. And I want to see that line together as a second line or third line, whatever you want to call it, like the rest of the way. Like right now, the Flyers, the 4 lines, the way they're set up is the Cates line, Laughton with Kuzmenko, 𝙏𝙏𝙏𝙏𝙏, that Couturier line, and then Pelletier, Paling, Hathaway as the 4th. Like I feel like maybe mix and match there a little bit, but I mean Pelletier is kind of the odd man out on the 4th line there. But those are 4. They're not great lines, obviously. They're not good lines. They're not a playoff caliber, but they're 4 third lines pretty much or better.
Yeah, that's a really good middle 6 throughout your entire lineup.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is. Yeah, no, I don't mind Noah Cates being that line, being the quote unquote first line, or even the Scott Laughton line, because if it frees up the Coots, Michkov, Tippett line for softer competition, boom. And I liked what I saw of Pelletier, but dude, Ryan Paling looked like he's got some work to do to get back to it. He wasn't he didn't look like he was feeling it, which is fine. He's missed a long time, but yeah.
We'll see. I mean, good to see Paling back, good to see Tippett back. Both of those guys coming off concussions, so you can, kind of understand if they're a little bit hesitant if Paling was. Risto came back from his upper body, whatever injury he was fine. Nothing spectacular.
He was outstanding. That move where he's like cut up to the net and almost scored.
The power Risto. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Are you watching at other NHL GMs? Are you watching? Are you seeing this?
Then the long range bomb for the empty netter. I was looking at the matchup stats a little bit ago. He didn't really play much against McDavid or Draisaitl. They gave York and Sanheim those minutes, but I mean, he's playing with Zamula, who is what he is. It's probably, if he gets traded, that's the type of player he'll be playing with, like a second, third pair guy that he has to elevate a little bit, and he can do that. So yeah, good to see that. Kuzmenko, I just love him. His celebration is after breaking his stick on the goal. Like
he didn't break it.
He didn't.
No, he just threw it away.
Just dropped it. Oh, I thought the stick broke. And then
no, I kept watching it because there was a stick blade. I'm like, did the stick break? But then I look at his stick and it was complete. I'm like, what the hell just happened? He just kind of like dropped it like it was hot, man.
Yeah, then I love seeing 𝙏𝙏𝙏𝙏𝙏 going right to the net to pick up that puck. He did the same thing for his first assist in the game going into the break. So yeah, Kuzmenko's fitting in well. There is talk the Flyers may flip him. I think I saw some quotes from Torts today, quartz, if you will. That he said, he's it's short term. He's not here long term. We're not committed to him long term. We got to see what he can do. He knows that. So that's where he's at. And you don't necessarily want a 29-year-old guy who's bounced around, taking up a top 6 spot where a young guy could be, but there's no one else I would really want to see up here. We've seen Lycksell, we've seen Tony Dick, Tuamala's not quite that level yet. Like Rodrigo Abels, I love him, but I'd rather see Kuzmenko there. Someone fun that if the Flyers want to bring him back on a 1-year deal and he wants to come back, that's great. Have a kind of sniper power play specialist. Like that's great. So I like what I'm seeing from Kuzmenko. Pelletier, I'm giving him time. I'm not making any judgment yet.
No.
I don't think he was able to practice before the break because of his visa issues. He was just with the team. And then Friday, Tortorella wasn't at practice in Thursday because he was with Team USA. So
Yep.
I imagine today was his first practice with Tort. So
Hey,
he's learning the system. We'll see what he can do.
You know who came back to Philadelphia with Torts and the rest of the Flyers?
Well, that tweet was deleted, though. I don't know if he actually did it.
Oh, really?
Controversy.
Oh, controversy. It was Connor McDavid, by the way, for the listeners who are not as clinically online as we are.
Online, yeah.
Yeah, terminally, clinically, jet lag, man. It's hitting me. Chronically, terminally. There it is. Yeah, it was tweeted that Connor McDavid was on the flight back to Philadelphia with Konechny, Sanheim, Torts, and Ersson. Just because it was convenient and the Oilers were playing here on Saturday. But if that was deleted, then maybe we don't know. Collusion or soft tampering or whatever the fuck you call it.
But yeah, McDavid's a free agent, or is he not?
No,
he's in
next summer.
2 years? He in a few years. Draisaitl they locked up, right? Or is Draisaitl free agent?
No, Draisaitl's locked up. McDavid can sign an extension this summer.
Okay. I mean, he'll stay there. He's staying in Edmonton, but one can dream. One can dream.
I don't know, man. If they flop in the playoffs, they're gonna have to work to convince him to stay.
I hope they flop in the playoffs. Flyers got that pick. I'm expecting either that one. Well, I'm expecting that one to be late. I expect Colorado to fall off at some point, maybe a Western Conference final berth, but one of those two picks is going to be late. Probably one of those picks will be in the mid-20s. You want to pivot to trade talk now, or you want to go kind of like some tank talk?
I don't want to talk tank. Let's do trades.
All right. Well,
because that leads into the tank. That leads into the tank.
It does. It's a good conversation. So February 24th, the break is March 7th, which sounds a long time away, but there's 28 days in February. So it's next Friday. It's less than 2 weeks, 10, 11 days now. And the interest, the smoke around Ristolainen and Laughton are not going away. No. I think they were 2-3 or 3-4 on Frank Saravelli's most recent trade board. And as I talked about last week with Jakob and Thomas, like there's not a lot of guys out there that fit that mold. There's not a lot of good centers out there on the market. There's hardly any right-handed defensemen. Like the Flyers have a ton of leverage here with both of these guys that they don't have to trade them. There's not a lot of players like them available. And they're the type of players that teams should want for the playoffs. Obviously, we haven't seen Risto in the playoffs. He didn't get a chance to show that off at Four Nations, unfortunately, but he's the type of guy that you can just look at his game and know what he's going to give you. Same thing with Laughton. He can play center. He can play wing. He can kill penalties. Good guy in the room. And you have these guys for more than just this run. So I feel like the Flyers are in a spot where they should be trading both of them realistically, unless they get lowballed. But where do you stand currently? Who do you think has a better chance of being traded by the deadline?
Honestly, deadline, Laughton.
By the deadline, yeah.
I think Laughton. I don't think... I mean, Risto makes more sense given everything about the Flyers and what he can bring to a playoff team. But his contract is so much more unwieldy that it just screams off-season move unless the Flyers get the exact return that they're looking for. Like, it just seems like something that can't happen until there's cap flexibility for these contending teams. Laughton's contract at $3 million, that's for 1 more year instead of 2. That's a lot easier to move, I would assume. And I didn't even think they would do it until a couple weeks ago, and it started seeming like, oh shit, they might actually. Also, have you noticed which power play unit those two have been playing on?
Yeah, I saw Charlie posted about that, and Flyers could be trying to showcase him, playing him up there with Michkov, Kuzmenko, and Konechny.
Although, to be fair to Ristolainen, he's kind of earned it. Like,
he has.
He's been playing outstanding. Like, defensively, penalty kill, and then on the power, like he's earned some power play time, and he's doing all right with it. Like his reach keeps the puck in, which the Flyers have struggled with all year. He's got a bomb. Like, I'm fine with that. It's kind of fun to see him up there and be like, oh, this is what Buffalo fans thought they were getting a decade ago.
Well, yeah, and then Buffalo put him in front of the net on the net front, try to use his size. But yeah, I mean,
Well, the Flyers tried that too for about 2 weeks. So
yeah, I mean, try anything with Rocky Thompson. Who knows what's you can't get worse. But yeah, it's because I've been flip flopping on if I think Ristolainen or Laughton is more likely to go because like they both kind of if they trade Risto, they can either just play Erik Johnson, they can call up Andrei and like do Andrei Sanheim, York, and Drysdale, something like that.
Grans looked like he was okay. McDonald's, like
like there's guys there, and same thing for Laughton. Like the guys I mentioned before, call up Rodrigo, call up Jakob 𝙏𝙍𝙎 if you want, whatever, like Anthony Richard, but then they don't really have a center. But I do feel like if they trade one of those guys, there's a decent chance they get a roster player back, especially Ristolainen. I think I threw out there like getting a Matt Dumba type back who's at $3 million through the end of next season. So instead of retaining, you get back a slightly better contract for a shorter term and getting a roster player, or just get that first round pick. Because if they trade Laughton and don't get a center back, it's like you got Cates, Coots, Paling, and Rodrigo, as your 4 centers, which who cares, kind of, but also you want to see these wingers have centers to play with.
I think, speaking of taking contracts back, I think Ryan Johansson's hearing is today for the contract termination dispute. Like I think today is the Players Association and Flyers hearing. So, hey, by the next time we record, we might have an answer on how that will resolve. So that's fun. I don't think they'd take a roster player like Dumba. I think they'd be looking for someone who's like 25 or under.
Well, they would just be taking back like a Dumba instead of retaining. Instead of retaining on Risto, take back a body that can play above Erik Johnson, can be next year's Erik Johnson, or some guy you just trade in the offseason. Kind of like how they took Johansson back, thinking they would just put him in the AHL or trade him to get what they want.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, we've talked about that. I could see it, but I also am wondering, like, they've got a lot of guys who are going to be pushing for roster spots, young players who are going to be pushing for roster spots next year. Do they really want to have a guy who's signed another year? Like, here?
But what defensemen are like Bonk, maybe, but I feel like he's going to need another year. Andrei, I think you put up there.
I think Grans might have to because of his contract. Let me.
I don't think anyone's going to claim Grans though. Like I think Grans would be able to make it through waivers.
He'd probably be all right. Well, he is an RFA this summer, so they'll have to sign him to a new contract regardless. And then there's Ginning. I don't think he'll make it. And then if Spencer Gill suddenly surprises everyone, but I am not holding my breath for that. He's still skinny as anything.
Yeah, he's as skinny as I am almost. So he needs a few more years to put on. Needs to go to that Bobby Brink boot camp to put on some muscle over the summer.
The Bobby Orr Brink boot camp, yeah, for sure. No, if getting the return they want requires them to take on a contract, sure, that's fine. But I'm more curious to see what the return will actually be because we've all been thinking, draft picks. Flyers have a lot of draft picks, especially this summer. So
yeah, I think they're aiming for picks next year, most likely.
I would hope so. There's flexibility in that.
Yeah.
But I could also see them being like, hey, that 20-year-old that's not going to make the NHL because you have too many veterans on your roster. You think you might want to send him our way? I joked about it in the Slack today. I was like, hey, what if the Capitals are willing to part with Ryan Leonard? Which they would never would.
No,
they never would.
No, maybe for like Mikko Rantanen or someone like that, but not for Risto or Scott Laughton has now been quote unquote linked kind of to the Capitals twice. Frank Saravalli had him in his Valentine's Day matchmaker article. And then in today's 32 Thoughts podcast, Friedman briefly mentioned, threw out Scott Laughton's name as like a third line type that Washington would make sense, but the Flyers can't trade in the division.
No,
they
no. I don't think Scott Laughton would ever play for the Caps. Like, he hates the Caps. Like, we joke about how he woke up to play the Red Wings. He's been doing that for years against the Capitals. He hates that team ever since like Tom Wilson or TJ Oshie concussed him in like 2015. He's just had a vendetta against that team.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and then his like first matchup back against the Capitals, he fought the guy, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if it was Wilson, but it was a tough customer there, and he was able to stand up to him. So I think Toronto is if Laughton gets traded, that's where he goes. Maybe Winnipeg, and Toronto has Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, these young guys that could come in and give just as much as Scott Laughton does on the ice. Maybe not off the ice, but on the ice, and they're much younger. They can grow with this team.
Easton Cowan, he's less likely to be a center than Minton, but he and Brink are like one of the best PK duos in the OHL. So it'd be kind of cool to just get another London Knight into the system.
Oh, him and Barkey, you mean?
Barkey, who did I say?
You said Brink. I'm like Brink.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Brink, Barkey, Bump.
Killer bees. The killer bees. I mean, no, we don't have any more Farabees, but we got the killer bees coming up.
Yeah. Oh God. Can you tell I haven't podcasted in 2 weeks, folks?
Yeah. And then Dallas. I kind of keep pushing Dallas as a spot for Risto. I don't know if that's going to actually happen, but they have like Maverick Bourque. I don't think they'd trade Stankoven, but I think Bourque could be a guy that ends up going.
Dude, not another B name. You're killing me already. Like I'm already struggling, and you're like, oh, let's get Bourque. I'm like,
more B's.
Bourque, Bonk, Brink, Bump. Like, what are we doing here? This is such an unserious franchise. And I know Thomas is like, oh, let's get Leon Bichelle, and yet again a B name. God, no, it can't be Dallas. Like, my sanity can't take it.
Yeah, I still am pushing for. I don't know if it would actually make sense for the Flyers, but Elias Pettersson, like I posted about today on Blue Sky, like the more people.
Wait, which one?
The forward, the better one, or I think he's still the better one. Like
who knows?
I saw today he has 4 shots in 6 games this month, so Vancouver is shitting on him. The price can't be that much. Like, it's a lot of money, but I feel like that's a type of chance you could take in the Flyers position.
Yeah.
Give him. We've talked about it on end. It's not going to happen, but like someone like that, I would love to see them go swinging for. Maybe Wyatt Johnston or Marco Rossi in the summer.
I am very aware of Elias Pettersson's struggles because I used one of my top fantasy picks on him.
Yes.
And I have many regrets. I have numerous regrets about that. I don't know. If he can PL Dubois turn himself around like the way that Dubois has turned himself around for the Caps, that'd be dope. I'd be stoked. If he can't handle the Vancouver media, do you think he can handle the Philly media?
I don't know if it's like, I don't know if he doesn't like the Vancouver media or if it's just, I don't know. There was a thing going on between him and Miller for a long time.
Right.
Vancouver, I think he could handle the Philly media. I think Vancouver, it doesn't quite get the attention that Toronto does, but it's like Toronto West for Canada. Like, that's the main team in Western Canada that people talk about. Like, so I think Philly media gets a bad rap, especially hockey. There's not that many hacks anymore. People come out of the woodwork left here and there every once in a while, but maybe it's more about like, could he play with Torts? So maybe it's a summer move if Torts ends up going upstairs. But like we said before, if a 1C is available, you have to at least kick the tires on him.
Yep. I'm sure they have. I mean, like, Danny doesn't seem like a GM to sit on his hands and just kind of let things happen.
No,
the Frost Farabee trade was pretty proactive.
Yeah, it was there. So yeah, those are the 2 main guys that could get traded. And if they trade them, like, it's not losing Risto, you can't replace what he does. But if you trade Laughton, like, whatever, just like, obviously we hate it for the locker room. We love Scotty Laughton, but like on the ice, his on-ice production, as long as you get either a center back or just call up Rodrigo again, like, the Flyers are very unlikely to make the playoffs. Like, we want to see them compete, but it's not happening.
Tell me, has a team ever missed the playoffs as a result of a broken heart? because that's what would happen with the Flyers. They would be grieving, or they would just get pissed off and make the playoffs despite everyone. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, looking at the standings, yeah, it's still tight. Yeah, it's still close. They're further away than they are closer to making it, right? So
yeah, and if you look at like the percentages of on Money Puck or the Athletic or anywhere, they're like single digits. It's like it's very, very hard for them to make it. I'm just on Tankathon right now, so I don't have the actual standings, but I think I saw there's like 15 teams, but between 51 and 63 points. Like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy, and there's still 25 games left, and with the loser point, anything can happen. So you want to see them trade Risto and Laughton so they get as few points as possible, but also it's like intangible versus tangible. Like, tangible is okay, you get a slightly higher draft pick, slightly better chance at the first overall pick, but how much do you value the culture? How much do you value playing competitive hockey in March and April? Even if they're not playoff games, you get these young guys in games where, okay, if we win, we're in the race still. Like, it's almost win or go home every night. Seeing how Michkov performs there, seeing if Jet comes up and finishes out his 9 games in April, how he performs, seeing how these guys, how Cates does, how that Cates line holds up. Like, it's obviously you want the best possible pick, but you want to have fun hockey and see these guys compete too.
Yeah. I just looked up the actual standings and I had no idea the Leafs were first in the Atlantic. That just is hilarious.
That when the Panthers are back and forth there.
Yeah. No, the competitive hockey stuff, I get it, but this team this year has been way more inconsistent than they were last season, and you can't bank on them making a playoff push if they can't get like more than 3 wins in a row. Like last year, up until after the All-Star break, they looked like a playoff team. They played like a playoff team. Like you knew they weren't going to go very far just because their ceiling wasn't that high, but they looked like they were competitive enough to do it. We've seen that in fits and starts this year, but nothing consistent enough to speak to management being like, "Oh yeah, we got to make a trade for right now." And I don't think they would, like, unless it is also a future focused move. I keep banging the drum. The Jamie Drysdale trade was a move that rewarded the team by giving them a young right shot defenseman with high ceiling to make a playoff push, but also a future forward move because he was young. So if they do something like that, like if they trade Risto for a 21-year-old who can step right into a top 4 role, they haven't materially changed their opportunity this season, but they have positioned themselves better for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Like every trade, Briere, well, the past 2 trades, the Drysdale trade and then the Frost Farabee trade, like you can't say the Flyers necessarily won them, but like they're comparable players that got dealt in both trades, and the Flyers got a 2nd-round pick as well in both of those deals. Like that's a pretty big asset to use that you can use to trade up if you have to, if your competitive culture gives you pick 12 instead of pick 8 and you have a guy on your board that you want to trade up for. You have that extra asset now. They have 7 picks in the first 50 or so picks in this round,
that's 11% of both rounds. I think that's the math, right? 7 divided by 64, right?
64, yeah. 8 by 64 is 1 out of 8 is 12.5%. So
it's 0.109, so it's 11%.
Yeah,
they have 11% of the draft picks in the first 2 rounds. That's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah, and I would be happy to see them use them all. Just completely restock the cupboard, give these chances, because people have been complaining in the comments everywhere, like, "Oh, Flyers don't have these guys that are going to make the NHL." Well, okay, let's get 7 more, or let's use these 7 picks, trade up a bit, get 4 more, get 5 more. Like I'm happy either way. Like this is a rebuild. This is taking us 2, 3, 4 more years until we're expecting a playoff series win. Like I'd be happy to see a playoff game win last year or this year. Like that's all you want. You want competitive hockey. And I don't think I necessarily want this team to tank, because we saw, just look at last year's draft. That was kind of the first time I was digging really deep into it. Like we saw guys like Sam Dickinson drop to 11, Zeev Buium, who people thought were potentially a top 5 pick, dropped to 12. Zane Parekh dropped to 9, Berkeley Catton 8. And in this upcoming draft, there's like a group of 3 or 4 at the top. there's going to be teams that want to do what the Ducks did last year, grab Beckett Seneca. That was a way later round pick. Like, there are going to be guys that drop. So unless you can really bottom out as one of the bottom 3 teams, which the Flyers can't do because they're not San Jose, Chicago, or Nashville, like, yeah, I mean, play competitive hockey.
I love how you just throw Nashville in there as if they're trying to bottom out.
Well, I'm just looking at Tankathon. They're the only 3 teams that aren't in that 15 teams with like 50 to 60 points.
Man, what happened to Nashville? Like, that is, scientists are going to study what happened to the Nashville Predators this season and be like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen? What are they going to do? They have Juuse Saros signed forever, and he does not look like the starter they need.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they have, looking at the advanced numbers, they have the 11th best expected goals for percentage. Like, they have good goaltending with Saros. They went out the offseason, got Marchessault, got Stamkos. They made the playoffs last year. Probably should have beat the Canucks, and now they're looking for a top 3 pick. So maybe the Predators are a team where you can trade into the top 3 and give them a Risto or give them a roster player to help them next year, and that could be a perfect trading partner for the Flyers.
Yeah, but who? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Nashville is that perfect target, but also they are a small market team. They can't afford to just bottom out and get those kinds of top picks regularly in a way that Chicago can. They might make that pick because they're like, we're never going to be able to pick in the top 5 again. Like, this is our one shot to do this. So,
yeah, they have 9 million Roman Josi till 2028. Brady Shea $7 million till 2031.
Oh, bad contract.
Forsberg, Stamkos, both 8+. Marchessault 5.5. O'Reilly 4.5. Like, they're gonna want to compete. Maybe they do get a top 3 pick and just put them in the NHL right away. But nope, that they could be a landing spot for both. Trade them Risto and Laughton. Give them both of them for something there. Like, yeah, they have a ton of cap space. It says they have 24 million in cap space. I don't know if there's a LTIR on there, but they have a bunch of cap room. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them.
Oh, come on, Flyers. Make my life interesting, please. I would really appreciate it.
What do you think about the Kuzmenko situation? Do you think the Flyers should flip him? Do you think, like, I imagine they wouldn't get more than a 2nd, 3rd round pick? Do you want to see him keep him around? Do you care?
No, I don't have feelings either way. He's not really blocking anyone, so like, sure, like let him play.
Yeah.
If the Flyers get a good deal and he's willing to waive his NTC if one of the teams that wants him is on there, fine, let him go. I'm indifferent. He's fun. If he stays, I'll watch him and I'll enjoy it. If they sign him to like a 2x2 extension, sure, I guess, why not? But I don't think he would do that. And yeah, no, I'm indifferent. Like, do you care either way? Like,
not really. I mean, he's good vibes, obviously, but like, yeah, if you can get, well, a 3rd round pick would be a contender, so it'd be a late 3rd round pick. But if you can get a 2nd round pick, definitely, you're not getting a 2nd round pick for him. But if you can get a 3rd round pick, or throw him in with a Laughton or Risto to get a slightly better deal, something like that, maybe.
Well, you'd have to retain on him.
Yeah, you probably have to retain on him or take back a similar contract, like,
right.
But yeah, like, you could take him out of the lineup, put Pelletier in his spot, call up Tony Dick for the 4th line, or play Nick Delorier, who was playing before the break, and that's fine. Like, the Flyers are once again in a spot where they have 18 skaters that belong in the NHL in some capacity, and then two or three more guys that you could play bottom pair, bottom line minutes and be like, okay, that's fine. So they're in a spot again where they can still sell a decent bit.
Speaking of skaters on the roster, what the fuck is going on with Alexei Kolosov, man? Like,
is he on the roster still? Is he?
Yes, he's still technically with the Flyers.
I saw Maddie wrote something today for broadsthockey.com. Like and subscribe there. I haven't read it yet, but apparently Cal Peterson and 𝙏𝙒𝙏𝙏𝙏𝙏 are nearing return, so they got to figure out what to do with Kolosov. It's getting to the point where, like, I am just almost done with him. Like, he hasn't shown He hasn't he's not the next Bobrovsky. He's not going to go win a Vezina. He might go somewhere and be a decent tandem goalie, but the Flyers clearly do not value him. So maybe it's an off-season dump. Maybe the KHL season ends soon, so it's not even like go back to Belarus. But I don't know. The Kolosov saga, we're going to look back at this in a few years and be like, what were they doing?
What were they doing? I don't really care. He isn't good enough to be making these kinds of demands. He hasn't proven. If he had come in and been like an absolute stud, hell yeah. Way to be confident. But he hasn't done that. And if he's going to sulk and moan and whine about like, oh, I want to go to the AHL, it's just, which we don't know if that's the case or not.
Well, I was about to say, credit to him. Like, he hasn't shown any visible frustration. He hasn't said anything to the media. He's been a decent soldier since he reported to camp.
Yeah.
It's all been whispers around him.
Barely reported to camp.
Well, yeah.
But he showed up pretty late.
Yeah, I just checked. Flyers are at 45 out of 50 contracts. So they have 5 spots to give a contract to. If they promised Kolosov some sort of thing where we'll keep you in the NHL, you can get NHL money, but not going to send you down, that's fine. Whatever. I'm not pissed about it, but I feel like
that doesn't help him. Except financially, but it doesn't help him become a better goalie.
No, but like maybe they just have this season written off as like, okay, practice with us. You'll get into a game if there's an injury. You'll be around the NHL team, and work on in the summer. And because even going into next camp, they have Fedotov still. Sam Harrison's going to be the one. Maybe they're like, no, maybe they restructure his contract or something, or give him like a bonus to go to the AHL. I don't know, because he should be the AHL starter. I've been saying this. Like, you need a goalie in the AHL that could potentially be your future, or someone you can trust to bring up. Like if Peterson was decent to spot start here and there, but the Flyers have neither.
No, but Peterson's done this summer. His contract's over.
Yes.
So maybe they're just stalling until they're like, yeah, you're the sure shot starter in the AHL because Peterson's gone. It's your next.
And the Phantoms team should be decent next year, especially if Bonk doesn't make the team. One of Bonk or Andrei is going to be down there. Barkey's going to be there. Is Bump the one in college that could be coming up? Cole Knuble, I think, is having a good year. Possibly. In college. He might turn pro. Like
Noah Powell. Oh no, he's in the CHL, but
no, he's in college now. He's at
he's in college?
Ohio State. Yeah, Thomas. He apparently had 2 goals in a fight last night. Thomas
he sure did.
So, yeah, maybe they get him in the AHL. Like Lappy's still going to be there, so it's not going to be the best place to develop guys. But
oh god, dude, it's killing me. Maybe Alex Ciernik finally comes over. He's always been like my little like pet project. I'm a big fan of his skill set.
Is he the really fast guy that you like? Or is that Gendron? Alexei Gendron.
Oh, Gendron. Yeah, Gendron's a goal scorer. He's with the Phantoms already, though, or they sent him back to the Royals. But I'm a big fan of Gendron. And Ciernik, I don't remember if he's super speedy, but he's like skilled, very skilled. And but he's your prototypical Euro player who has all these puck skills, but isn't physical enough to cut it in the NHL. So he also missed a lot of time due to injury, so that stalled his development by a year. It's getting late early for him, but I'd still love to see him on North American ice to see what he could do.
Yeah, Gendron has 15 goals, 22 points in 45 games for the Phantom. So yeah, he's been fine, I guess. Whatever.
He's tiny. That's the thing.
That's the Flyers' motto. Flyers love small forwards now.
I mean, look at the GM.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. I feel like we've got a decent show here, almost to an hour. Anything else here before we look at the upcoming games and do our tankathon?
I'm just excited to be able to watch some hockey again. The first thing I did when I got back last night was I flipped on the recording of the Oilers game, and I was like, it's kind of fun to watch a game when you know when the goals are scored, because you see the play forming. It's fun in the sense that like I'd watched the highlights, so I saw the formations coming together, and I'm like, oh, this is when it happens. And it's kind of fun to see like what the lead up is to how it's scored rather than just the celly. But anyway.
I've never been able to do that. Like record a game and watch it. Like even like TV shows or movies, if I know spoilers about it, I can't get excited to watch it. Like I just can't.
Unfortunately, this is kind of our job. So I was like, because I haven't watched the Flyers game in 2 weeks, and we sat down to pod, and I'm like, I should probably watch a game. And I'll do that one.
Yeah, you got home yesterday. You're probably just on the couch, like, throw it on. Why not?
Oh yeah, I know. I nearly fell asleep, but I was like, I gotta see the Risto empty netter. I gotta see the Risto empty netter. All right. Do we want to do Tankathon first, or do we want to do the game predictions?
Let's do the upcoming games first. We got Tuesday at home against the Penguins. We have Thursday at the Penguins, which is a 7:30 game. Then we have Saturday at the Winnipeg Jets. Penguins have they had a back-to-back at home over the weekend. They lost 8-3 to the Capitals and then 5-3 to the Rangers, despite outshooting the Rangers 39-16. I watched some of that one. That was a crazy game there.
The East is a mess.
Yeah, it's a 3-game losing streak for the Penguins after losing in Philly 3-2 going into the break. So I'm seeing a win. I'm seeing a 4-2 type of win here for the Flyers. This is when the Flyers are healthy, this is when they play well, especially with Sam Ersson playing well. You got 4 lines that look pretty good, 3 pairs that are decent. So I think we'll get a 4-2 type of win.
I think it'll be a little closer, 4-3. Crosby just always goes off, and he's coming off a pretty good performance for Team Canada. So
yeah,
maybe he gets that extra goal.
Maybe
still not enough.
Yeah,
overtime. I'm gonna say it's an overtime win.
Oh well, I was about to say for Thursday, I'm giving the Penguins a 4-3 overtime win. Just something about playing in Pittsburgh. The Flyers did own the old building. They've been decent there at PPG, but they had that was that Festivus game at Pittsburgh where they went down pretty bad?
Red Wings.
I thought that was last year.
How many years ago?
Penguins. This past one. 7-3 at Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot about.
They were down 4-1 after the first period in that one. Yeah, that was.
I'd had quite a few beverages at that one,
as would be necessary for that. Yeah.
Yeah, as was necessary.
So yeah, I'm thinking a 4-3 overtime loss on Thursday.
5-2 regulation loss.
Yeah. And then Saturday against the best in the West Winnipeg Jets, they have won 9 in a row. They play the Sharks, Sens, and Preds before hosting the Flyers, so that could be 12 in a row. Connor Hellebuyck's insane. I'm thinking like a 4-1 Jets win.
I need the Flyers to win that one because do you know who has Connor Hellebuyck in our fantasy league? It's you. And Hellebuyck has the cushiest schedule of the week. So I need the Flyers to win that one. It's going to be a tight one. 2-1. We get a big Sam Ersson game.
I was about to say, if it's going to be a Flyers win, it has to be low scoring with Sam Ersson coming up huge. So
and Nick Seeler blocking 1 billion shots.
Yeah.
Maybe enough to put him in first in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Flyers got those 3 games coming up, and then we'll record probably Saturday night games. We'll record Sunday or Monday, and then a big homestand starting next week. It's a 7-game homestand starting with the homecoming for Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost on Tuesday night. So it'll be a fun time.
Poor boys, poor guys.
At least they're like firmly in the playoff race now. I don't think the Flames are going to make the playoffs, but they're having a good time over there.
Well, considering how garbage the Canucks are right now, like you never know.
You do never know there with Vancouver. All right, let's get the Tankathon up here. Flyers currently have the 7th best odds at 6.5% of number 1 overall. Let's do it. Here we go.
Come on.
Oh, Montreal up to 1, Flyers up to 2. I'll take it. That drops nice. San Jose, Chicago, Nashville. Both go down 3. Montreal goes up to 1. Philadelphia goes up to 2.
Who are you taking?
That'd be fair. I don't know.
Thomas
has been posted in the Slack about all these guys that he's been doing stuff for. Let me go to the mock draft here. They currently have Schaefer, Higgins, Misa, Martone in that order. So
we get Higgins.
I'll take Higgins.
I'm into that. Fuck yeah.
Higgins, Luchenko down the middle for the next 10 years. Ooh. Why not? A
little small, but no, he's 5'11". Yeah, it's fine. I feel like I have this realization every time. Like I thought Higgins was like 5'10", and then I see, he's 5'11". Oh, he's all right. Yeah.
I feel like Higgins was like hyped up as the number 1 guy for a while, and like he just hasn't been there as the season has moved along. Like I don't know if they expected more or what.
Michael Misa was granted. Why did I say it like that? He was granted exceptional status in the OHL to play like as an underager.
Mm.
So the fact that he's not the first overall selection shoe-in is kind of odd, I guess. But hey, I'd take Michael Misa too.
Yeah,
Center left wing. We need both those positions.
Yeah, if the Flyers stay at 7, the Tankathon has them getting Victor Eklund or Caleb Desnoyers goes right after him if they want to get both. Is Elliot Desnoyers still in the system? He is, right?
He's still at the Panthers.
Yeah, he has to be. So they can get both brothers if they want.
I would probably take Desnoyers over Eklund just because of the position, but one thing that I've noticed among Flyers fans is they're like, well, they're just going to take Caleb Desnoyers because they got his brother and because he's a responsible two-way center. And I'm like, no, really, Caleb Desnoyers is actually like a pretty good prospect. Like, there's a reason he is ranked in the top 10 of a lot of these prospect boards. So.
Yeah, so hopefully the Flyers do go up to 2 or up to 1. Top 3 there to get a Tankathon comes true there. But yeah, make sure you are subscribed on the YouTube. Let's get up above 500 on Broad Street Hockey on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And get in the Discord, Broad Street Hockey Discord. There's a link to it on the Twitter, on the Blue Sky. If not, you can reach out to one of us and we'll give you a link. Joe, where can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at jfdmarini.bskies.whatever. Social? That's social. What it is. Yeah. Okay. One of the great things of my vacation, I didn't check Twitter once.
Ooh, beautiful.
I know. I'm deleting it as soon as the trade deadline is done. How about you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Blue Sky at RyanGilbert.bsky.social. Yeah, the insiders have some bots that like repost the tweets onto Blue Sky, but they're so far behind that like it's not even worth it. So,
and not all of them have the bots yet. So I'm hoping by next trade deadline next year, most people will have made the switch.
Yeah, hopefully the country hasn't burned down by then as well. So
yeah, hopefully.
See what happens. All right. Until next time. Thanks for listening.
Go Flyers.